7 miraculous transformations revealed for the prophetic from heaven. In the heart of a quaint English village, a divine spark ignited the air, thick with expectation. People spoke in hushed tones, their eyes wide, as they declared a supernatural shift was upon them. Miraculous transformations were in reach. Mary, a beacon of faith and love, had begun to gather her community in fervent prayer for her son Benjamin, whose laughter still brightened their lives, even as illness dimmed his light. But the winds of doubt howled around them, stirring fear and uncertainty. As dusk fell, shadows danced along the walls of St. Michael's Church. Flickering candles cast a warm glow, while incense curled upwards, carrying their hopes into the heavens. On that fateful night, something extraordinary happened. As Mary's voice joined those of her neighbors, a palpable energy filled the sanctuary. Drifting whispers of prophecy vibrated within their hearts. That night, Father Thomas stood before them, eyes ablaze with fervor. Miraculous transformations are on the horizon for those who believe. His words soared through the air, igniting a spark of faith deep within Mary's heart. Suddenly, a hush enveloped the crowd. One elderly woman, Margaret, felt a warmth enveloping her as she rose to recount her healing from crippling arthritis. The pain had vanished as she clutched a prayer scarf blessed by Father Thomas. Gasps erupted, and a wave of stirring filled the church. Could it truly be? Some murmured, while others fell to their knees, hearts racing with increased faith. "This is no coincidence," Mary proclaimed, her voice steadier than she felt. She sensed the divine stirring beneath the surface, unaware of the storm of skepticism raging just outside. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." With Father Thomas's declaration, a newfound energy surged in the gathering. One by one, stories of small miracles poured forth. A man whispered of a touch upon his heart that drove away a decade of depression. A young mother claimed her baby, once silent and distant, filled their home with joyous cries just moments after lifting their hands in prayer. Nevertheless, beneath this wave of joyful declarations lay Mary's torment. Amidst the miraculous tales, her heart clenched with worry for Benjamin. Could he, too, rise from the shadows? A battle between hope and fear began to wage on within her. As the candles burned low, Mary fell to her knees at the altar, tears glistening in her eyes. "Lord," she anguished, "if I am to witness a transformation, let it begin with my son." Quiet fell, heavy with spiritual tension. What miraculous transformations lay ahead, ready to burst forth from the veil of prayer? Would faith conquer doubt, or would despair rise again to test their resolve? As dawn broke, illuminating the village with a golden hue, the question remained: what astounding revelations awaited them on the horizon? As the sun painted the village in shades of gold and amber, a new day dawned upon St. Michael's Church, awakening the lingering energy from the night before. Mary rose from her knees, heart still heavy, but filled with a flicker of hope. The cool morning breeze brushed gently against her face, whispering promises yet unfulfilled. She could feel it, an undercurrent of anticipation coursing through the air, urging her forward. Gathering her courage, Mary stepped outside, where the village had begun to stir. Neighbors exchanged lively greetings, their smiles bright with newfound joy. Yet, despite their mirth, Mary sensed the weight of unspoken fears. Would they continue to believe amidst uncertainty? Could their collective faith truly move mountains? As she made her way through the cobblestone streets toward her home, she offered silent prayers, calling forth the miracle they all longed for. When she reached her door, she paused. Benjamin lay within, tucked under blankets, yet seeming far away from the rest of their lives. Each time she approached his bedside, her heart felt heavy, but this morning she noticed a flicker of hope in her son's gentle breathing. Leaning closer, she could hear the softest sound, like murmurs of dreams dancing on the edge of reality. "Little one," she breathed, brushing a hand against his forehead, "a miracle is coming. I believe." In that moment, the village bell rang, its peal echoing across the hills. The sound felt like a call to arms, beckoning every soul to gather once more at the church. With each toll, excitement mingled with uncertainty. Mary knew she needed to return to that sacred space, where faith had ignited something more significant than mere words. As she stepped back into the church, she recognized that the energy from the previous night had transformed into a united spirit of prayer. The congregation was alive, hearts entwined in desperate hope. Father Thomas stood at the front, arms spread wide, inviting all to join him in a circle of faith. "Brothers and sisters," he proclaimed, his voice resonant, "let us not forget the miracles that weave among us. Our spirits are interlinked in this divine symphony." There was an electric buzz, a hum of anticipation that stirred like the gentle rustle of leaves. Each person there held a story, a personal testament, sharing fragments of hope embedded in their hearts. As Mary took her place among them, she felt a swell of courageous belief. The chorus of prayers rose higher, ascending into the rafters, reaching out to touch the heavens. Then Father Thomas uttered words that sparked a wave of divine memory. "Do you not remember the words of the Lord? Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them." A soft murmur echoed among the crowd, resonating deep within their spirits. "In faith, it is time to lift our hands and declare our needs," he instructed. Eager hands shot up, the air thick with faith-stricken requests. Eyes filled with tears of hope, all around people prayed for healing, for peace, for miraculous restorations. Each voice seemed to layer upon the other, forming a tapestry of heartfelt devotion. But amid this fervent prayer, doubt emerged like a shadow, creeping into Mary's thoughts. "What if it's not enough?" she whispered to herself. Then her heart paused, for a voice spoke within her, tender yet resolute. "Hold tight, dear one. Your faith can shape eons." The congregation's prayers amplified, drawing close to a crescendo. Suddenly, a gust of wind rushed through the open windows, swirling through like a divine breath. Mary's heart raced. Could it be? Was this the moment of transformation they had all been seeking? As the energy surged, the church trembled with divine anticipation. What would be revealed in the meeting of their desperate hopes? Would the miracles they craved materialize, shaking the very foundations of their beliefs? In this divine gathering, the mystery awaited its unveiling, eager to burst forth into reality. Mary stood amidst the fervor, her spirit vibrating with the electric threads of faith that intertwined the congregation. As the wind swirled around them, a palpable energy filled the air, and she felt the weight of her worries lift, if only for a moment. Faces lit up in a mixture of hope and fear, eyes glistening with unshed tears. The atmosphere hummed with the sound of intercession, each prayer a tangible offering laid bare before the heavens. Father Thomas raised his voice above the chorus, calling for silence. The gathered flock fell into an expectant hush. "In this moment we are not alone. The Lord is with us." His voice carried a warmth that wrapped around each soul, reassuring them with tender encouragement. As Mary glanced around, she saw fellow villagers, each carrying their own burdens. Ruth, with her freckled face and trembling hands, knelt beside her, whispering a prayer for her paralyzed brother. At the other end, old Samuel, sunken but resolute, cried out for relief from the pain that had long tamed his spirit.
With every lifted voice, a symphony of personal struggles unfolded. Yet threaded through it all was unwavering faith. Mary closed her eyes, feeling the thrumming of the congregation, drawing her deeper into the moment. "Lord, I believe," she breathed, calling forth every remnant of hope inside her. "Heal us, restore us, let your light break through this darkness." And then a stillness descended, a silence so profound it felt as if the world held its breath in anticipation. In the heart of that sacred stillness, Mary sensed a movement, an awakening. It was as if the very walls of the church
were leaning in, listening, about to reveal something both extraordinary and delicate. Suddenly, enveloping light sparked overhead, enveloping Father Thomas as he spoke again. God has prepared us for this day. He is moving among us. In that illuminating glow, hearts began to stir and hands trembled in reverence. Mary felt warmth radiating throughout her being, urging her to welcome each soft whisper of divine presence. The flicker of hope inside her grew brighter, challenging her doubts. What if, she pondered, this is simply the beginning of heaven's manifestations? Around her, fingers entwined and eyes closed, a sense of unity filled the space. People began to sway gently, lifted by the rhythm of their own prayers. In that holy moment, the atmosphere swirled with possibility. A miracle was not just a wish, it was imminent, it was already underway. Then, in a moment that felt like time itself had paused, there came a rustle from the bells, a melody echoing the prayers. The sound shimmered, weaving through the congregation, as a gentle breeze wafted in. Almost all could feel it, moving like a kindred spirit among them, bringing comfort and confidence. Just then, as Mary stood astounded, her heart pounded. A figure emerged in the light. It was Benjamin. Weak yet determined, he sat up, eyes wide with vitality. "Mummy," he said, voice softer than a whisper, yet echoing with strength, "I can feel him. I can feel God." The moment cascaded through the assembly like ripples on water. Gasps rang out, and soon cries of joy erupted, wrapping around the church like a resounding embrace. Mary felt tears streaming down her face, joy flooding into her heart. Could this truly be happening? But all at once, amidst the celebration, another thought surfaced. Would every prayer be answered? Would every heart find the healing it sought? As the church buzzed with amazement, Mary raised her hands in gratitude, but her mind raced with wonder. What other miracles lie in wait, she asked herself, glancing at her son, who now beamed with a spirit awakened. And so, under the soft glow of divine light that flooded the church, questions filled the air like floating incense. What would happen next? Could their faith carry them to even greater heights? What surprises did heaven still hold in store? As the echoes of joy filled the church, Mary's heart swelled with gratitude. Benjamin's voice became a beacon of hope, lighting the path of faith that she had yearned for. Around her, the congregation vibrated with a newfound energy, each face reflecting a spirit ignited by miracle. "Let us rejoice, for our God is here." Father Thomas lifted his arms to the heavens, the radiance still bathing him in warmth. His faith shone brightly, illuminating the hearts of those who had gathered. All we have sought, all we have prayed for, has begun to bloom before our eyes. The amped-up excitement made the very air crackle. Mary turned to Ruth, whose freckled face now glowed with uncontainable joy. "Your brother, Ruth? Could it be?" "Let's pray together," Ruth interjected, determination written on her belied features. "Let's ask for his healing now." The urgency in her voice spurred others to join, clasping hands and forming a circle of expectation. Eyes closed and spirits engaged, they began to chant a rhythmic prayer, a melodic wave washing over them. Mary felt the pulse of each heartbeat, infusing the room with hope. The power of collective faith felt like a surge of light, urging them to draw nearer to one another and to God. As the fervor simmered, a peace settled over Mary.
She opened her eyes again, the room buzzing with anticipation. A soft voice broke through the tension, echoing from the back. It was Samuel, his hands tremoring with faith. "You see, God is moving in us. Healing is but a prayer away." A chorus of amens and hallelujahs rose, merging into a melody that sang of praise. As the commendations filled the air, Mary wondered about Benjamin. His healing felt like a spark, but what more would it ignite? Could they embrace the full scope of miracles that lay ahead? In this moment of extraordinary faith, someone broke the circle. A middle-aged woman named Mara, her voice shaky but filled with conviction. I believe God has a message for us," she said, stepping lightly as if traversing sacred ground. "My heart tells me we are entering a time of divine unveiling. New gifts will emerge. With every prayer, God is opening our hearts to receive." Her proclamation sent ripples of wonder through the congregation. Could each person truly be his vessel? Mary's spirit soared. What new gifts might flow into their lives? She longed to deepen her understanding, to be aligned with whatever was unfolding. Suddenly, Benjamin looked up at her, his eyes radiant with newfound clarity. "Mummy, I see faces!" His voice burst forth, filled with an intriguing mixture of childlike wonder and profound wisdom. "They all surround us. They're cheering. They want us to believe." The notion sent chills down Mary's spine. "Who, my love? Who do you see?" He pointed, beaming. "The angels! They've come for us!" Gasps erupted as everyone turned to look, eyes scanning the walls, hoping against hope to catch a glimpse of those believed to be celestial. The air shimmered, brightening as every heart leaned in, desiring to connect with the divine. Mary's thoughts raced, inspiration fueling her spirit. Angels, are we truly being chosen for something greater? As whispers of curiosity spread, Father Thomas spoke again, his voice steady. "Faith leads us into unseen realms. What we believe may be closer than we think. Could it be? What awaited them on the other side of faith? What would their journeys reveal beyond the doors of their small church?" In the swell of impassioned reverence and the thrill of anticipation, the congregation held their collective breath, united in expectation. A mighty transformation was on the horizon, but preparations were undergirded by faith and
unity. And so they prayed, hearts open wide, yearning for deeper revelation. Little did they know, the most profound act of God had yet to unfold. As the divine atmosphere thickened, one question pulsed in the air. Was this merely the beginning of an extraordinary outpouring? What wondrous changes would test their faith and reveal his plans ahead? The air crackled with fervent energy, each heartbeat echoing the hopes and prayers of the congregation. As eyes fluttered open, a collective pause lingered. Mary felt her spirit elevate with the expectations swirling around her. There was something sacred at play, something beyond their understanding. "Let us be still," Father Thomas beckoned quietly, his voice a soothing balm. The expectant chatter fell away, replaced by a divine hush. In the stillness, Benjamin's gaze remained fixed, his little face illuminated with an inner light streaming from his shining eyes. "I see them!" he exclaimed, his voice soft yet resonant. "They're smiling. They want us to be brave." Cautious whispers of wonder danced around the gathered souls. Ruth squeezed Mary's hand, her freckled brow furrowing with both delight and confusion. "Brave? What is it that we must face?" she murmured, her heart racing. Mary's heart raced alongside hers. The idea of divine presence sparked thoughts of strength and trials. What challenges lay ahead? She searched her own soul, yearning for clarity. "We must keep praying," Samuel added, his voice trembling with excitement. "Don't let fear take root. This is the moment we choose in faith.
the moment we step into our calling. As if ignited by a match, each voice rejoined the harmony of belief, a swell of prayer rising like a tidal wave. The vibrations of united hearts created a sanctuary around them, a mercy that held their whispers aloft. Suddenly, the church doors creaked open, drawing the attention of every soul present. An unfamiliar figure crossed the threshold, a man with an aged face framed by silvery hair. He walked with a deliberate calm, as if he were transfixed by the sacred atmosphere. The congregation turned to face him, intrigued and wary. "Peace," he said, his voice woven with wisdom. "I have come from afar with a message." Eyes fixated on him, the tension heightened. "I am Elijah," he continued, "a messenger of the divine. Your prayers have been heard. A new season has arrived." Gasps arose, swirling in a whirlwind of disbelief and wonder. Mary's heart pushed against her chest. Could this truly be a prophetic encounter? "Your faith has stirred the heavens," Elijah continued, his piercing gaze sweeping over them like warm sunlight. "Miracles are being set into motion. Healing that you have sought is not merely for the physical. This is a journey of hearts, a transformation born from authenticity and love." With every word, a wave of conviction rolled through the congregation. Spirits lifted higher, igniting hope in those who felt weary or burdened. Each face, young and old alike, reflected the possibility of divine change. "Open your hearts," Elijah
proclaimed, a gleam of joy lighting his features. "The gifts you will receive are not for yourselves alone, but for the body, the community. The light of God shines not just in the shadows, but through each of your lives." Mary looked beside her at Ruth, whose eyes brimmed with tears of joy. In that moment, it became clear. They were all being called to participate in something grander than themselves. Each member would be a vessel for divine outpouring. As the air thickened with divine presence, an electrifying sense of anticipation wrapped around the church, connecting each soul through the promise of transformation. "Prepare yourselves," Elijah said softly, "for what you will experience will stretch your faith. It will be a journey of testing, unearthing, and revealing His glory. Are you willing to step into the unknown?" That question lingered, suspended like the soft glow of candlelight in the shadowy corners of the church. Would they step forward, embracing the divine call, even amidst uncertainty? The congregation held its breath. Uncertainty churned with excitement as Mary's heart raced. What depth of faith would this journey demand? And in that pregnant pause, a new question took root among them. Is this an invitation to venture into uncharted waters of grace? What magnificent transformations awaited them just beyond the threshold of faith? The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the church windows, illuminating the sacred moment as if heaven itself was smiling upon them. Mary felt her heart swell, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. The words of Elijah echoed like a gentle whisper. "Are you willing to step into the unknown?" Around her, the congregation stirred, reflecting the internal battle each faced. Eyes darted from one face to another, sharing silent questions. Would they truly follow this divine prompting? Would they trust in the unseen? Ruth turned to Mary, her expression a mosaic of wonder and hesitation. "What do you think will happen next? Do you believe we are ready?" The sincerity of her gaze pierced through Mary, awakening her resolve. "I don't know what's ahead, but I do feel something's changing," Mary replied, the warmth of community enveloping her. "God is calling us to something more, something deeper." Elijah was still speaking, pulling their attention back to him. "Listen closely," he urged, his voice growing stronger. "The first gift that awaits you is courage. Courage to reveal the truth you've buried inside, to speak hope where despair has taken root, and to shine light in dark places." Mary's spirit soared.
Courage. Yes, she thought, that was the key. Each of their hearts needed that boldness to face the trials ahead. Samuel's hand shot up, trembling slightly. What if we fail? What if we're not enough? Ah, but therein lies the beauty, Elijah replied, the glint in his eyes sharper than before. Divine grace flourishes where human strength falters. Your weakness is an avenue for his power. Embrace that. Trust in his limitless love. Mary felt
the weight of the message tugging at her soul. It resonated within. She thought of the time she had held back, fearful of judgment, of rejection. But the promise of courage sparked a flame of hope. What if they truly dared to act? The church swelled with murmurs of agreement filling the air, voices rising like a chorus of birds taking flight. One by one, hearts began to open. "I want to share my story," Ruth ventured, the tremor in her voice betraying her nervousness. "I've been hiding, afraid of what others might think. But I see now that if it helps, then I'm willing." There was a tangible shift, a collective acceptance rippling through the congregation. Many began to nod, the spark of inspiration igniting their own willingness to share, to be real, washed over by a wave of divine purpose. Elijah smiled, his presence radiant. "Then you have taken a step into the light. The second transformation is connection. You are not alone in this journey. Every shared truth binds you closer, creating a tapestry of love that reflects His glory." Mary felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. Each testimony woven together formed a thread of resilience, each thread strengthened by authenticity. She reached out, clasping Ruth's hand tightly. "What else will we discover?" Samuel asked, his excitement bubbling over. "The third gift," Elijah continued, his eyes gleaming, "is healing. Healing not just for your bodies, but for your spirits. As you reveal the wounds you carry, you create space for His restorative touch." Mary could hardly contain herself. The thought of healing, the very essence they craved. She envisioned a community restored, wounds bound up in love. Each heart, once burdened, now set free. New life bursting forth like flowers in spring. As they digested Elijah's words, a hush fell upon the room again, heavy with expectation. The promise of change loomed, yet uncertainty hung at the edges. "What if we stumble?" Ruth whispered, as if reading Mary's thoughts. Elijah sensed their apprehension, and he smiled gently. "Remember, beloved ones, stumbling is part of the dance. Do not fear faltering, for leaps of faith are often accompanied by a few faltering steps. Have you opened your hearts wide enough to accept what comes next?" And just like that, the essence of faith thickened in the air, a call to embrace life's uncertainties. What would they each choose in the wake of such revelations? The path of transformation awaited, filled with beauty, challenge, and the hope of the miraculous. The question lingered in the air. How would they respond to this divine invitation? Would they walk through the door that was now ajar, into the fullness of grace and purpose, or retreat back to their comfort zones? With their hearts beating in unison, the answer seemed to pulse just beyond their reach, waiting to be discovered. A gentle hush enveloped the church, each person reflecting on Elijah's words. The mysterious call to action hung overhead like a soft, glowing "Hello?" Mary's heart raced, caught between her longing for transformation and the fears that still shadowed her. Then a quiet voice broke through. It was Samuel again, his brow furrowed in deep thought. What if our stories clash? What if sharing just drives us apart? His question felt like a palpable tension in the room, yet also an invitation to dig deeper into the collective heart of those gathered. Elijah stepped forward, his eyes sparkling with understanding. "Ah, beloved ones, conflict can indeed thrive in the soil of vulnerability. Yet it's within that very discomfort that you will find your unity." Mary sensed a ripple of agreement pass through the congregation. Perhaps they had been too afraid to confront that fear, the fear of division that sometimes stems from honesty. But what if, by sharing their fragile truths, they could instead create bridges of connection? Think of it, Elijah continued, his unyielding gaze warming their spirits, like the rainfall on parched earth. Each story, even those that seem at odds, will add nourishment where it counts the most. In God's hands, your differences become part of a greater design, leading to vibrant growth. Tears flowed freely now among the congregation, each drop a testament of fears unchained and burdens that had awaited release. Ruth squeezed Mary's hand, a soft squeeze filled with both fear and bravery. "Shall we take a step together?" she asked, her voice breaking, revealing the tender spirit within. "Yes," Mary's reply erupted from her heart, feeding the flames of their courage. "Together, let's step into this light. Let's open our mouths and share the pieces we've kept hidden." Just then, the air shifted. An unseen current gripped them, channeling the energy of the divine and solidifying their resolve. It was as if whispers from heaven filled the room, nudging them toward authenticity. Elijah beamed. "Yes, do you feel that? The strength of unity in your purpose is made manifest here. You have the power to speak life. Your words are crucial, for through sharing your journey, healing will flow to others." One by one, hearts opened. A woman stood, her voice trembling but strong. "I've battled feeling unworthy," she began. "For so long, my past haunted me, but I now see that God can use every fragment of it for His glory." The room vibrated with murmurs of support. Others began to rise as well. Stories poured forth like the sturdy flow of a river, one building over the next, rising into something beautiful. Samuel shared his struggle with doubt, while Ruth confessed her fear of rejection. Each revelation was met with gasps and softly spoken affirmations, wrapping around each soul like a protective blanket. These were not just stories of hurt. They were seeds being planted, ready to blossom under loving care. Mary listened, her spirit swelling with gratitude. She felt as if she was witnessing a miraculous healing, a delicate grace that connected every individual to the other. In that sacred space, the community transformed, interwoven, into a tapestry of shared humanity. But then, a wave of uncertainty crashed over her. What if we betray this trust? What if healing doesn't come? The thoughts lingered in her mind, chaos meshing with clarity. Elijah's voice cut through the noise. "Remember, beloved, faith doesn't prevent risks, it empowers you to face them. The fourth gift that awaits you is joy." Joy, something they had all yearned for yet often overlooked. It can coexist with your fears and your imperfections. Reach out and embrace that joy. Allow it to lift you beyond your circumstances. As Mary's heart opened further, she began to realize that embracing joy was a choice too, a commitment to walk in the Spirit, regardless of the storms raging outside. With every passing moment, the atmosphere shifted, filled with laughter and tears, warmth and vulnerability. They shared not only burdens, but their dreams as well, woven together with threads of hope. In this sanctuary filled with stories, one radiated the brightest. A voice called out from the back, "What comes after that joy? What else does God have for us?" Elijah paused, his presence heavy with divine anticipation. "Ah, just wait and see, for the promise of what you will discover next is beyond anything you can imagine." A hush fell once more, but this time it crackled with expectancy. The journey had taken flight, and while they were still in the thick of it, the promises of transformation shimmered just ahead, illuminating the path that lay before them. What revelations would come next, one may wonder. As the atmosphere stirred with anticipation, something sacred began to unfold. The light streaming through the stained glass illuminated each face in the congregation, reflecting a kaleidoscope of emotions. Mary felt a rush of warmth spread from her heart to the tips of her fingers, an inexplicable sensation that seemed to whisper a promise of divine truth. Something profound awaited them. Elijah, standing tall before them, looked as if he could hear the very breath of heaven. Each of you, with your stories and gifts, forms a piece of this beautiful tapestry God is weaving. What you discover together goes beyond mere joy. Are you ready to walk into that truth? A collective nod surged through the room. One by one, their hearts began to speak. The woman who had previously shared her struggles stood again, her voice now steadier. Every battle reveals a strength we didn't know we had. I realize now that our struggles are never wasted. Mary whispered a quiet amen. She felt new courage rising in her chest. It was within their vulnerabilities that each of their journeys entangled, like roots of a mighty oak, growing stronger together. Elijah continued, "The next transformation is one of understanding. Often our perception clouds our view. When we share our lives, we are opening the door to deeper wisdom. God longs for you to see Him in one another." Suddenly, a hush fell again, as Samuel rose, his face lit by an inner glow. "I used to think understanding meant agreement, but now I see it's about embracing the full picture, even where we differ." Agreement rippled around the congregation again, eyes bright with newfound clarity. Mary felt a burden lift. Their differences, rather than being barriers, could paint a vibrant picture. The laughter of children echoed faintly outside, a reminder of innocence and the joy of community. There was a gentle reminder that each person carried a unique spark, each story a precious thread. Now, dear ones, Elijah's voice rang clear, silencing any lingering concerns. Comes the revelation of trust. Trust is like the delicate petals of a flower opening to the sun. It reveals the beauty hidden beneath the surface. Ruth, having found her voice again, chimed in. "I once feared betrayal, but I see now that creating a safe space requires both vulnerability and the willingness to trust one another fully." A murmur of agreement flowed through the crowd. Mary's thoughts danced with recollections of trust. How fragile it felt, yet how overwhelmingly strong it could be when nurtured within community. They were all woven into something greater. Elijah's smile widened. The fourth transformation is love. This love transcends words and runs deeper than blood. It is raw and powerful. His eyes scanned the room, igniting hearts as if he could see through to the depths of their souls. As those words settled in, Mary sensed hearts turning, walls crumbling. She thought of the barriers she had erected in her own life, only to realize how isolating fear had been. Suddenly, laughter filled the air, gleeful and innocent. One of the children from the neighborhood entered the church, a bright smile lighting up his cherubic face. He stood momentarily, surveying the gathered crowd, before letting out a playful shout. "Look, it's like a big family!" The laughter grew, lightening the moment, opening hearts more deeply, and ushering in a spirit of connection. It was as if heaven smiled upon them. Joy became palpable. Elijah's voice returned, gentle yet firm. "Yes, embrace this truth. When love, understanding, and trust flourish, the next miracle begins to unfurl. Transformation. Every person here today carries the gift of a unique perspective. Together, you hold the key to turn hearts toward God." Breathless with anticipation, Mary glanced around, feeling an electric energy coursing through her veins. Beneath the surface, the mysterious workings of the Spirit began to breathe life into their gathering. "What else will we uncover?" someone whispered, intrigued, as the room leaned in toward the unfolding mystery. "Ah!" Elijah leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper, yet resonating strongly.
What you will discover next is the purpose behind your collective journey. Await the grand unveiling, for God's plans are much greater than you can fathom. With those words, a holy stillness settled, cracking open the door to even greater revelations. Eyes glimmered with wonder as a shared heartbeat echoed throughout the sanctuary of believers. What purpose awaited them just beyond this threshold? Ah, Elijah leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper, yet resonating strongly. What you will discover next is the purpose behind your collective journey. Await the grand unveiling, for God's plans are much greater than you can fathom. With those words, a holy stillness settled, cracking open the door to even greater revelations. Eyes glimmered with wonder as a shared heartbeat echoed throughout the sanctuary of believers. What purpose awaited them just beyond this threshold? Ah, Elijah leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper, yet resonating strongly. What you will discover next is the purpose behind your collective journey. Await the grand unveiling, for God's plans are much greater than you can fathom. With those words, a holy stillness settled, cracking open the door to even greater revelations. Eyes glimmered with wonder as a shared heartbeat echoed throughout the sanctuary of believers. What purpose awaited them just beyond this threshold?
Soon enough, they would find out. The stillness that enveloped the room was thick with expectation, the kind that makes your heart race and your palms tingle. Mary felt it deep within her. It was as if every soul present was pulling together in a glorious tapestry, a sacred moment designed by God Himself. Elijah stood there, a beacon of hope, his presence radiating peace. "As we venture deeper," he began, "let us first seek the understanding of our purpose. We are not just individuals, but a collective creation, crafted beautifully by the hands of the Almighty." Mary couldn't help but nod along eagerly. She could almost hear the heartbeat of the community around her, a rhythm of faith that echoed in unison. "I invite you all to reflect on moments in your life where you felt a gentle tug at your heart, where you sensed a purpose calling you," Elijah continued, his voice guiding them into a sacred space of reflection. "These are the invitations from God, breadcrumbs leading you to His divine destiny." Soft gasps and whispers filled the air as people began to share, voices shaking with the weight of personal stories. A young man spoke first, his voice faltering yet filled with conviction. "I once felt lost, a wanderer without direction. But in my darkest times, I sensed God's whisper, leading me toward helping others find their way. That's when I knew my purpose." A chorus of yes and amen followed, each person feeling the resonance of his experience in their own life. Elijah smiled, his spirit soaring. Every calling is significant, every struggle valuable. The purpose we seek often arises from the very places we feel inadequate. His words must have struck a chord, because another voice joined, this time from a woman who had battled immense heartache. "I learned that vulnerability is strength. Through my pain, I found my purpose in nurturing others experiencing similar struggles." Mary's heart swelled, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. What a beautiful revelation! Their challenges, their scars, they were not mere burdens, but pathways to profound connections. Together, Elijah energized, your individual purposes intertwine to create something powerful. This gathering today is part of a greater plan, one that shines brightly through unity. The atmosphere shifted, growing warmer, as connections were forged in shared vulnerabilities and dreams. A stillness settled around them, creating a sacred space. "Now let us pause and listen to the silence," Elijah instructed, his eyes closed. The congregation followed suit, the only sound being the soft rustle of garments and hushed breaths. It was as if they were poised on the precipice of revelation. Mary felt the warmth of the Spirit enveloping her, filling her lungs with the divine presence. It was a tender moment, uniting them in something greater than themselves. They were in a holy communion. Time ticked on, but here it felt suspended. The sound of a distant bell chimed, breaking the stillness. Elijah opened his eyes, a knowing smile illuminating his face. What you felt in that silence was God's reassurance. Each of your purposes plays a crucial role in His grand narrative. The manifestations ahead will lead you toward fulfillment. Manifestations? A voice whispered, eyes wide with excitement and wonder. Mary held her breath, anticipation swirling in the air. What incredible signs awaited them on this shared journey? The final piece, Elijah said, a twinkle of hope in his eyes, is the revelation of hope amidst all trials. It's not just about the good times, it's about seeing God's hand even in the struggles. Trust in the unfolding of His plan. Mary's pulse quickened as her thoughts soared. What glimpses of hope would they discover in the coming days? The divine path lay ahead, beckoning them into uncharted territories of faith. With hearts ablaze and spirits hungry, they yearned for the next steps leading into the divine unfolding awaited just ahead. What adventures awaited in the light of their collective purpose? As the congregation stood in unified anticipation, the air shimmered with possibility, the atmosphere pregnant with the longing for divine revelation. Mary, her heart racing with a profound blend of excitement and trepidation, listened intently as Elijah continued to inspire hope in their midst. Your journey is not merely for yourselves. It reaches far beyond these walls. Each act of faith transforms your community, and the ripples of your faith will extend far and wide. The words, soaked in grace and urgency, stoked the embers of belief within Mary. She felt a divine call to step forward, to grasp hold of the miracles that lay in wait. What else is hidden within this tapestry? Her spirit mused, as she looked around at her fellow villagers, each face glowing with eagerness to embrace the divine plan unfolding among them. In an electrifying moment, each heart beat louder, thumping in rhythm with a sacred purpose. "Let us declare something together," Elijah proclaimed, his voice resonating like a clarion call. "Repeat after me. We are transformed, we are united, we are vessels of hope." The congregation broke into a chorus of affirmation, their voices rising like fragrant incense before the heavens, echoing their intent. As the final words left their lips, something miraculous began to happen. The church itself appeared to shimmer under the weight of their hearts joined in agreement. A warm, golden light enveloped the space, casting away shadows, illuminating their souls with assurance. "Can you feel that?" Elijah whispered, a knowing smile gracing his lips. "That is the divine presence, a true manifestation of what happens when faith ignites." Mary closed her eyes, running her hands over her heart. A warmth flooded through her, washing away remnants of dread. Suddenly she felt a presence beside her. It was Benjamin, his face alight with wonder. "Mommy, look!" he exclaimed, pointing toward the ceiling. "Do you see them? The angels are dancing!" Gasps and exclamations filled the sanctuary as others looked up, witnessing the shifting light, almost like graceful figures shimmering against the stained glass. There was laughter now, mixed with awe, a collective embrace of the miraculous unfolding before them. "Sing, sing praises!" Elijah beckoned, his voice urging the congregation toward exuberant worship. They lifted their voices in harmony, an outpouring of gratitude that reverberated through the very foundations of St. Michael's Church. As the music swelled, the atmosphere pulsed with energy, each note etched into the tapestry of their hopes and dreams. Among the praises, Mary found her voice, strong and unwavering. "Thank you, Lord." The words poured from her heart, echoing the testimonies of healing, strength, and unity in the room. Tears of joy streamed down her cheeks, a testament to the floodgates of hope bursting wide open. Then, in a moment that felt timeless, the air shifted again.
The light became even more brilliant, illuminating every corner of the church, wrapping the congregation in a warm embrace. A calm voice reverberated through the midst of the gathering, echoing profound grace. Your faith has been heard. The time for manifestations is at hand. Mary's heart beat wildly as she looked at the congregation's eager faces. This was their moment, a holy unveiling waiting to be birthed from their shared belief. "Stand together," she urged, her voice filled with urgency. "Let's embrace this truth together. Let's open our hearts for every miracle God desires to give us." The villagers looked at one another, hearts ignited with a shared conviction. They formed a circle, holding hands, their bodies vibrating with collective expectation. Mary recited scripture, declaring God's promises over them, echoing words that stood the test of time. "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord, "plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." As each person repeated the verse, the walls seemed to vibrate with their declarations, reverberating back their struggles and triumphs. Faces filled with courage, their individual stories interwove into a glorious anthem of faith, shouting in defiance against fear and uncertainty. The moment crystallized, sacred and powerful. Now, as we prepare to step into what lies ahead, embrace the truth that you are pivotal in this journey. Elijah's voice rang out, summoning a hush that fell over the gathering. What will emerge needs your whole heart. Each of you carries a divine purpose to fulfill. As Mary took in the tangible energy of expectation, she marveled at the incredible transformations that had already begun. The air hummed with divine anticipation, whispering secrets yet to be revealed. What awaited them this day? "I believe," she declared, her arms elevated to the heavens, and one by one the congregation echoed her sentiment, awakening a roar of agreement. "I believe in the extraordinary. I believe in the manifestations of grace. We are ready to receive." The affirmation rolled out like a mighty wave, crashing upon the shores of doubt and despair, flooding their spirits with collective courage, a promise of unfamiliar paths leading into a future drawn by divine purpose.
Fingerprints. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting vibrant hues of purple and gold across the sky, the villagers emerged from the church, hearts ablaze, spirits intertwined, ready to embark on the miraculous journey that awaited, a journey spun from threads of faith, purpose, and unfathomable grace. With each step forward, the community became more than just a gathering. They transformed into a divine vessel destined to carry a concert of hope into the world, to shine brightly among all who wandered in darkness. Their testimonies echoing the eternal words, "Miracles are real. God is here." Now, brothers and sisters in faith, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your actions make a difference. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this awe-inspiring ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of divine love. Let's spread the hope together.